Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Weird Frontiers role-playing game. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this Weird West Dungeon Crawl Classic style RPG, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about action types, ammo types, and gunsmithing. Let's start with action types. We have single action. This is the default mechanism to fire a single shot or double barrel weapons. This denotes the need for an external hammer to be separately cocked prior to pulling the trigger. This is also the mechanism for the majority of revolvers of the era and all lever action rifles. Revolvers and most lever action weapons with single action firing may be fanned. Then there is double action. This is firing as seen only in revolvers at this time. Weapons using double action firing use a single trigger action to both cock the pistol and fire the weapon. This was noted at the time as being a dramatic improvement in the rate of fire for some of these weapons. Remember, this setting takes place in a fictional version of the Old West. And this is reflected in the improved rate of fire for all double action weapons. Double action revolvers cannot be fanned, though some revolvers can be used in either double or single action. They can be hammerless, improving the concealability rating, as they don't require the outside hammer, though most retained it. Let's talk about ammo types. We have the cap and ball, or C&B. Most guns of the time used cap and ball ammunition. Briefly, this consists of a powder charge, a wad to separate the lead ball from the powder, and a wad or grease packing to hold the ball in place in the chamber, and a percussion cap that will fire the powder when struck by the hammer of the gun. Loading manuals of the day included multiple steps to take when loading a single barrel or chamber of a gun, resulting in long load times for cap and ball repeaters. There are also details on the metallic cartridge. This type of ammunition is one that continues to be used to the modern day. There are variants on the form, but for the most part, the general premise is similar. The metal case has on one end a lead bullet that caps and seals that end. In the middle is a powder charge. The other end has a primer seated in the metal that will ignite the powder when struck by the hammer. No additional percussion caps are needed and the whole package is self-contained. We also have the unusual cartridge ammunition. During the development of the more standard cartridge-based guns, several variant forms were developed that would have been found at the time, although they aren't seen today. Some of these are detailed here, though there are few actual mechanical effects of these variations from the basic cartridge ammunition. The first metallic cartridges were seen in the luchador pinfire system, wherein metal cartridges had a small metal pin protruding from one side of the base, which would be hit by the hammer of the gun and then strike an internal primer. An early version of a non-metallic cartridge was the volcanic rocket ball ammunition. This version formed a semi-conical, hollowed-out lead projectile around a powder charge, then capped it with a primer that was sealed in place. This proprietary ammunition was used in the volcanic rifle and handgun, which were among the earliest lever action guns. We also have information on ammunition caliber, which was, at this time and place, given in hundredths of an inch. This stands for the diameter of the barrel or bullet. Common calibers included .22, .31, .36, .41, .44, .50, .56, and .69. Caliber and standard power charge combine with other factors of the gun to produce the power of the overall projectile, which is reflected in the game mechanics as the damage of the shot. And there are some other details concerning this. For example, for shotguns, the measurement is given in gauge, with some standard gauges being 10, 12, 16 or 20 gauge. There are also details on concealability and cover. Each gun has a concealment modifier, Characters apply this modifier at any point they are attempting to conceal a firearm. You make an intelligence-based contested roll versus anyone trying to spot the gun. In the case of a tie, the winner is the one with the higher luck score. Cover can offer a substantial bonus to those coming under gunfire. To keep things simple, decide how much of the defender's body is covered and apply the listed armor class bonus versus the attack. Objects used for cover must obscure the defender from the attacker's line of sight. Now let's talk about gunsmithing. Any character with a background occupation considered to lean heavily on the use of firearms can be assumed to have received training on the maintenance and minor repairs for the firearms they carry. Once the proper time and kit has been spent on the firearm in question, you have the player make a gunsmithy skill check to see if the gun is properly maintained and modified. There are plenty of changes that you can enact upon your firearms. For example, you can attach a skull crusher butt, which adds damage in melee, and it's somewhat easier to conceal. But if you want to attach a bayonet blade, this deals more damage in melee, but it's harder to conceal, and you can only attach it to rifles. There are also pistol modifications, such as a shortened barrel, which adds a bonus to concealment, but it applies a penalty when it comes to hitting your target and the range of your weapon. You could add a folding hammer spur. This adds a bonus to initiative in the first shot when taking a shooting action, but it only works as double action, and you need one round to unfold and allow fanning. So there are all sorts of attachments and modifications to rifles, such as telescopic sights, a false muzzle, holster modifications such as creating a shoulder holster or a spring release holster. This obviously adds a bonus to quick draw, but it's harder to conceal. There are also details on how to reload different firearms, muzzle loading single shot, breech loading, muzzle loading revolvers. So you have details on how many rounds you need to carry out these reloading actions, but also more technical details to add realism to the game. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about the gun deck, damage, boons and hexes. I love the level of realism within the fiction of this game. The details concerning ammunition, reloading, the ways in which you can modify firearms, rifles, etc. It all connects the reality of the setting with the rules and mechanics of the game, but also the historical and technical details that serve as a solid foundation for the entire game world. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending right through RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.